So you've started getting into some fraction stuff at school and your teacher has just asked you to simplify fractions. What does that mean? Why is that important? And perhaps most crucial, how do you do it? Today we're going to take a quick look at what simplifying fractions means and how to do it quickly. Let's go. What's up, mathematicians? I'm Mr. D, and today we're talking about simplifying. Now, when you look at the word simplifying, you can pretty easily see that it comes from the word simple. So what does it mean to make something simple? It means to make it as small and basic as possible. So with fractions, it means that we're going to be taking an equivalent fraction that uses the smallest possible numbers. Let me show you what I mean. This is the fraction 4/12. Perhaps you had to add some fractions together and you landed on 4/12 as your answer, but your teacher or practice pages asked for the simplest form. If you wrote 4/12, even though that's equal to the right answer, you'd probably be marked wrong. This is not simplest form. There is a way to write a fraction that is equal to this, but uses smaller numbers. This is the fraction 1/3. This fraction is in simplest form. When you look at the two pictures together, you can see that 1/3 is the exact same amount as 4/12, just written with smaller numbers. So you could say that 4/12 written in simplest form is 1/3.
That's great, but how do you do it?
To show you how it's done, grab a paper and pencil to write with me, and let's go to the whiteboard. Here we are once again with 4/12. Now, the fancy pants math way of simplifying a fraction is by doing something called divide both sides of the fraction by their greatest common factor. Sometimes teacher will use the abbreviation GCF for this. Lost yet? Let me explain. So GCF stands for greatest common factor. Let's break that down. Greatest means largest, common means what they have that's the same, and factor means the numbers that could be multiplied together to reach that number. Let's look at 4/12. We're going to list the factors of 4 and 12. First, let's do 4. So what times what makes 4? Well, 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. Easy, right? Now let's do 12. What times what makes 12? 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4, and that's it. Okay, great. So now we have all the factors of 4 and 12. Looking at each of these lists, which is the greatest common factor? In other words, which number is the largest number that appears in both lists? That would be 4. So with 4 and 12, the greatest common factor, or GCF, is 4. So in order to simplify this fraction, you just need to divide the numerator and the denominator by 4. 4 divided by 4 equals 1. And 12 divided by 4 equals 3. So that's how we landed on 1/3 as the simplest form of this number. Now, you might be wondering, hey, Mr. D, I see a 2 in each list. Could I divide them both by 2? You could, but if you divided them both by 2, you still wouldn't quite yet be in simplest form, meaning you'd have to divide them both again. Okay, so that's how it works, but isn't there a faster way to do this? I mean, I have to do like a whole worksheet of these. Do I have to list out the factors for every one of them? Is there a shortcut? Yes, there is a faster way to do this, so let's take a look. Here's another example. This is 16/24. Now, I could list all the factors of 16 and all the factors of 24 and find the largest number that's the same in both lists. Or I could simply start thinking about my times facts. Here's what I mean. Look at 16 and 24. They're both part of the times what family? Think about your times facts. Times 2s, 3s, 4s, and so on. They're both part of the times what? 2s? Sure, 2 times 8 is 16, and 2 times 12 is 24, but remember, we want the greatest common factor. So I need the biggest number that they're in the times family for. 16 and 24 are both part of the times 4s, but that's not the biggest one yet. Keep going. 16 and 24 are both part of the times 8s. 8 times 2 equals 16, and 8 times 3 equals 24. So therefore, I can divide each side of the fraction by 8, and now you're in simplest form. 16 divided by 8 equals 2, and 24 divided by 8 equals 3. Now, if this part is difficult for you, it probably means you don't have your multiplication facts memorized yet. If that's you, you might want to use a multiplication chart. I put my favorite multiplication chart that I think is the easiest to use as a free download in the description of this video, so be sure to use it if needed. Let's do one more example together. Here's 12 over 20. Okay, let's think about 12 and 20. They're both part of the times what family. Now this time I want you to pause the video here if you're doing it with me, and then we'll see if you're right. The biggest number that 12 and 20 are both part of that times family is 4. 4 times 3 equals 12, and 4 times 5 equals 20. So if I divided 12 by 4 and 20 by 4, I now have the fraction in simplest form, which is 3/5. And that's a quick shortcut on how to simplify fractions. For more math tutorials, including a few tips and tricks on how to know if you're already in simplest form, click the video you see here. Until next time, I'm Mr. D. Good luck.